Hello, welcome to Productions MJC. Today's subject matter is third grade proof. The Earth is a globe, and I kid you not, 8 to 9-year-olds can figure this thing out. It's simple, straightforward reasoning, and I know you've seen smarter people than myself show you these two contending points of view about the Earth, with the obvious globe on the left and the frisbee disc, as some people call it, on the right. With this video, I want to push you past just sitting and watching videos and actually perform an experiment with some simple things around the house. I'm going to include a video of how I did it, but I want you to use just your stuff around the house and you do the experiment. You be your own scientist with your own ball, straw, flashlight, and tape. Take control of the experiment. You be the one observing the path of the sun and determining if this illustration is correct or not. Look at it with a critical eye and wonder why these two objects stay the same size. The flat earthers say the ball sun travels flat across the top, but our perception of it is that it moves up and down. But the illustration suggests that the bottom sun should be shrinking and growing in size. The real sun, as it passes through the sky, does stay the same size. Personal experimentation helps you to be observant. We all observe sunshine. We all know what that is. We see it on tall buildings, right? And there are personal experiments that we can do with sunshine to help reinforce what we understand about the world we live in. Very tall buildings react and interact with sunshine in a very specific way. So we can understand that. We can watch it, observe it, experiment with it, and talk about time zones later. You may or may not have one of these tall buildings around you, but we can always take other people's experiments and observations with them and then draw our own conclusions. So let's get into the very tallest of those, and that of course is the Burj Kalifa. This building, it holds many records. In fact, it's the highest outdoor observation deck. Tons of records. One is very interesting, and yes, it deals with sunshine. For now, this is the tallest building in the world, and it has a very special and peculiar way that it reacts with sunshine because it is situated on the ocean, basically right on the shore. Absolute unrestricted view of the sun. The Burj Kalifa is so incredibly tall, it takes 3 minutes from zero illumination of the building by sunlight to full illumination of the building by sunlight. And of course the opposite is true. For those that can afford it, you can get on a tour where you can see 2 sunrises or 2 sunsets, your choice. You either watch the sunrise and then zip down in the elevator to watch it rise again, or you reverse the process, of course. Plenty of documentation that this occurs, that this happens, in roughly the same time frame that I've been talking. To put that into perspective, 2 separate full sunsets in the time that I have been talking, and you can take your camera and see that you can't zoom back in on the sun and see it. Quite a unique experience. And of course you'll see that the sun is a round ball, disappearing behind a straight edge, not floating off into a little dot, but I digress. As I stated earlier, right on the edge of the water, it's not in a valley, it's right there, where the sunlight has full access to the entire building, and that's an important point that I'll bring up later. Some people try to confuse the issue by talking about mountains and sunlight on the valley floor, blaming obstructions why sunlight acts the way it does. How does sunlight act on a globe? Let's see. Now for the experiment.
Here's my little experiment. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Now on this, as the earth turns and that tall building comes around, it comes out of the shadow. You can see the top of the building be illuminated, going down till it finally touches the base. Okay? And if the earth were rotating in a different direction, if I was on the opposite side, see how the bottom of the building, this is sunset, the bottom of the building goes, and then finally the top is in darkness. Simple experiment a third grader could do and understand. We're living on a ball. That's the only place that can happen.
That brings us to the obvious question. Is this the only place it can happen is on a globe? Is that the only way it can happen is on a globe? It's perfectly fine to question whether that's correct or not. So, like Skeptic Dog here, let's question the veracity of that claim. Let's try to figure out if that's true or not. So what we're going to do is compare the flat Earth day and night cycle, sunrise, sunset, and compare that to a globe. And of course, right off the bat, this looks wrong because a round object can't create a straight line, but there's another problem that is kind of hidden. Without a shade or mask, there won't be a straight line there. So let's look at another artist's conception of a flat Earth. This artist gave rounded edges to the sunlight to try to make it more realistic. At first glance, this rendition looks pretty good. There's a circle, there's rounded edges, there's intense light in the middle, it kind of softens towards the edges. So boy, this looks pretty good, doesn't it? However, there still is that nagging hidden thing. And there's a lot of models. There's this model that has a very defined edge, a very straight cone, and of course the light would abruptly just kapoom, stop as it moves away from you. There are other artist conceptions. There's not much agreement among the camps of how this actually works. They really don't know. This is just guesswork. Now to that hidden, nagging little problem. This is an artist's conception of time zones and how they work on a flat Earth. But there's a problem. Of course, this artist's conception looks pretty good right off the bat, but we need to examine each and every little separation. But let's save that reveal for a later time. Let's examine the cone-shaped light that is such a disaster on a flat Earth, and I'll explain what's happening with that. We've all seen cone-shaped light sources, and for those people that say it needs to be a cone, there is a definite problem with a cone-shaped light source they aren't thinking through. We also can do our own cone-shaped light source experiment with our flashlight, our cone flashlight. It shines out in a cone. Let's watch me do another third grade experiment.
And a typical flat Earth response would be the sun shoots rays in a cone. Here's a nice little light I've got here. It's cone. I can even shrink it down to a cone. Now they say the Earth, it passes over the Earth in a cone shape. So it works. It climbs up that, it works. Let me get it out a little ways more and show you. They say, see, it starts at the bottom of the building and then goes up to the top. Then it gets over it at noon, and then as it passes on to the other side, there it goes down. So they say it works because the light is shining in a cone.
That seemed to work. However, upon further review, let's take a look at a cone-shaped light. What do they look like when they actually shine? The problem is, as a cone-shaped light shines, not only does it make a oblong-shaped hotspot, the light itself disappears into a tiny slit that you can no longer see. It doesn't stay round. Thinking about a sunset, do we see a sunset where the sun smashes into an oval shape and then finally disappears? No, of course, that is not our reality. The sun stays perfectly round until it touches the ocean. The sun isn't only round at noon and at sunrise and sunset a smashed oval. We've all seen sunsets and sunrises. We've all seen street lamps. This is an accurate depiction of a spotlight. Common sense and this demonstration show a spotlight sun is impossible. Turning now to a screen grab from a flat Earth video wherein they said the sun is close because it leaves a hot spot. Therefore, it has to be close, according to flat Earth thinking. Let's put on our thinking caps and look first at the sun, which is a round circle. From our previous demonstration, we know that it should be a smashed oval, if not absolutely invisible to our eye anyway, if it were indeed some sort of spotlight sun. Now, turning our attention to the hot spot itself, it's obviously in the shape of an oval. So if we put on our third grade thinking cap, we can realize that when does a round object make an oval reflection? Let's get our household items And we quickly realize the only time a round object will make an oval reflection is if we have a curved reflective surface. We know through common knowledge that if the reflective surface is perfectly flat, then the reflection of a round object will be a round reflection. But that isn't what we see here, is it? Let's quickly summarize the problems with this flat Earth video screen grab. A flat Earth spotlight sun should be shaped like this, and the reflection should be shaped like this. Definitely not 90 degrees opposite of reality. Remember our practical demonstration of a spotlight light source? This isn't even close. This flat Earth video screen grab is still wrong because the sun's round, which isn't a spotlight. We know that. The reflection of that round object is an oval, so therefore the surface of the Earth has to be curved to account for the difference in shapes. And we haven't even mentioned that the flat Earth says the sun is 3,000 miles high. Does that look 3,000 miles high? The balloon itself is 119,000 feet above the surface of the Earth, according to the commentary on the flat Earth video that this screen grab is from. They comment with their mouth that this is a spotlight sun, but you can definitely see with your eyes that it is not. This blows the spotlight theory right out of the water. Let's once again think about how a spotlight works. Let's think about practical demonstrations from our life. This is familiar to me because my grandfather worked for the railroad, so I've seen trains come down the tracks. Each individual telephone pole by the side of the tracks is illuminated all at once, top to bottom, at the exact same time. It doesn't light from top to bottom or bottom to top, like tall buildings interact with the sun. Each telegraph pole is perpendicular to the train's headlight, to the light source. Now, if the sun were doing the same thing as it approached tall buildings in the morning, then why doesn't the entire building light up exactly like the telephone poles do? Because the sun isn't a spotlight coming towards you. Even an 8 or 9-year-old can understand that the sun can't be a spotlight. It doesn't act like one. Moving on from that, let's talk about time zones on a flat Earth. I briefly talked about them and I said I would return to them, so let's return to them in earnest and figure out if they work or if they don't on a flat Earth. Well, on this model as it rotates around, Perth, Australia and Beijing, China are in the same solar time zone. The sun rises in both places at the same time. No matter what the time on the clock says, people in both locations see the sun crest the horizon at the same moment. However, for this demonstration, sunset isn't in sync anymore. It's out of whack because of the shape of this spotlight sun. Let's get a freeze frame of that so that it's easier to see. Let me quickly remind you that this is marked for sunrise only. There's no sunset on there. Let's mix in sunset and sunrise and take a look. The flat Earth cone sun cannot account for both sunrise and sunset. Physical solar sunrise and sunset should be synchronized for Adelaide, Australia and Tokyo, Japan, and it is not with the cone spotlight sun demonstration because the trailing edge is the wrong shape. The trailing edge and leading edge should match, but they don't with a spotlight sun. Is it just that artist's representation? Let's take a look. I'll try to slow this down and then add in some highlights and let's see if it matches. Let's see if it works. As we rotate around the representation of the spotlight sun, we can see that the trailing edge and leading edge highlight different places at different times. It just doesn't, even this one doesn't work. Well, to be fair, I have done the research and I know that none of these work. I haven't seen one well, wait a minute. I have seen one. Let's take a look at that. This is not a joke. This is a convoluted idea. This is the only one that works for light and dark cycles on the flat Earth. If you thought the spotlight sun was bad, this is crazy. Just ultra convoluted gymnastics to try to make the flat Earth work. And it's impossible. Is it just that particular map? Oh, no. There was a time that they had new iterations of this flat map almost monthly. Invariably, they all make the same mistake and they put Sydney and Christchurch on the same longitude line. Even more egregious is the fact that that big black line is the same distance from Brisbane to Perth. Second and third grade elementary students can tell that's wrong. Go ahead and pause the video and get out a ruler and see if I'm telling you the truth. From the North Pole halfway into South America is supposedly the same distance as the width of Australia. I mean, school-age children can see that's wrong. But let's help you out with this demonstration. Let's compare the land masses of the United States with Australia. There's only about 11% difference between the two. But if you look at a flat map, Australia is incredibly distorted. And here's yet another iteration of the map. Take a look. Does Australia and the United States look anywhere close in shape or size? No. And yet the same people that see no problem with the flat Earth map have a horrible problem with the Mercator projection. It just doesn't make any sense. Both are just two-dimensional projections of a round object onto a flat piece of paper, so they do get distorted. It's inevitable when you're trying to put a round globe onto a flat piece of paper. It'll never work without distortions of some sort. I have other tests and experiments that children can do, but it's time to conclude this video. And my suggestion to you would be to get out, walk, ride a bike, get in a car, and look at street lamps that are round, yet when you move away from them, they become oval, so does their projection on the ground. It verifies the sun is not a spotlight sun. Take your phone out and verify that street lamps do disappear as you walk away from them. They turn into little oval slits. Just go out and take a walk and look at those street lamps and you'll see that I'm telling the truth. The only time they look round is when you're directly under them. Obviously, my presentations are neither slick nor, Hollywood style or anything else like that. They're just straightforward, logical presentations of fact and truth. Please like and subscribe. Send other people to my videos so they can be informed. And if they have people questioning them or they have questions in their own mind, we can spread the word and keep that truth flowing. Keep everybody informed, because that's the most important thing. We can help cure ignorance. It's just a simple lack of understanding and knowledge. Thank you for allowing me to help you, and let's see if we can just help the rest of everybody out there, okay? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Please like and subscribe. Have a good day. This has been Productions MJC.